focused on putting the computers in the high school and then taking some computers and moving them to the middle school, and then the middle school ones down to the elementary. But as you can see, and as I've seen quite a bit this year, the elementary schools are doing so much work that's requiring high levels of technology in their classroom. So we're looking to really put new computers, those high-end multimedia computers, at all 3 levels. We do look to update Windows and Office software for staff and students to the newest version. We currently have Windows Office 2003. We're looking to move to the most recent version so that students and staff are familiar with what is current in the world. And increase smart technology classrooms throughout the district. As I mentioned before, implementing the systemic adoption of Google Apps, allowing for shared documents, calendars, Gmail, and Google websites. This is a plan that we're investigating now. We may be rolling out by the fall if we can get everything together over the summer. The pilot of Edline for parents in the middle school during the 4th quarter with a full implementation in the fall of 2011. Again, an interactive website that allows parents to monitor students' progress every few weeks. And finally, looking ahead to iPad mobile device pilot programs. For administrators and for the school committee, the superintendent has recommended this as a pilot for teachers and students. What's key here is that our pilot will include an exploration of how these devices can be used to enhance teaching and learning. Some are in use presently. I will say that we are, some of our students in our PDP classes are using iPads, and from all that I hear, it's a completely life-changing device for students, some nonverbal students able to communicate through the software. But you've probably heard in the news some school systems are going next year to unveiling this at all districts. We're a few steps behind that. We're still learning about how to use it. We need to invest in that infrastructure and see how that's going to work. But really, where we are, this technology just came out about a year ago. So learning what this device is and how it can be used. I mean, there's so many possibilities from putting textbooks on there to using it, interactive for every student. But as I've often said, a lot of people are frustrated because it's not a laptop and it doesn't do everything a laptop does. Well, it's a whole new device. It's something that never existed before. So these pilot programs that we would look at would really put a lot on the teachers and the students to figure out how we're going to use this before we unveil it on a large scale. But that would start with administrators and maybe the school committee looking at using those in the future. And that's my presentation.
Questions or comments for Patrick on the technology update? I have a couple of questions and comments. For 1.5 megabits per second, that's pretty slow. I think most homes have. I think at my home I have 10 to 15 times that, so that's I can see why that's an issue. Is that 50-20 plan moving now to upgrade to that, or is that something that we hope to do?
We're working for that for July 1st.
Okay.
So then it's already in process.
The other question, the other couple questions I have, one relates directly to, we allocate approximately $60,000 every year out of small cap, and that goes toward replacement computers. My question is that the best place that we should be spending that money? Do we really need to keep replacing desktop computers? How are they used, and should we be buying other things with that $60,000 besides? For example, should we be buying, I don't know, 800 iPads or 600 iPads instead of replacement desktops?
Sure. I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
I'm sure that, as I'm presenting this, I'm thinking 3 years out, this probably will look very different. We wouldn't have desktops as the main thrust of that. I wouldn't say that the desktops will take up all of the investment. We're also looking at, like I said, the iPad pilot and also the infrastructure pieces of this as well. We're still in a place, though, with the software that we have in our classrooms right now. A lot of software that's running that we've invested heavily in needs the desktop still to run it. The iPads at this stage really can't support some of the programs that we have.
Well, I know it's different use really for the iPads, and I've actually had discussions with the principal at Burlington High School.
Sure.
Because he's telling me that kids are going to be able to write papers on their iPads, and I'm telling him they're not going to be able to, and he doesn't agree with me because that keyboard is not usable you have to have a wireless keyboard, the Apple wireless keyboard or something between $50 and $100. So you really can't do, as far as an information source, drawing information down, teaching lessons, textbooks, it's there today, but there's a lot of things you can't do. My other question on the desktops is what exactly, you have 850 computers, and most of those desktops?
Most of them are desktops.
What are we using, how are they used, how are they dispersed throughout the district?
In different ways. There are several computer labs at each building. There are some in the classrooms, but a lot of these computers are powering a smartboard or something like that.
Okay.
So that's where I'm getting at, that we can't really replace everything with an iPad at this point.
Right.
But we're just looking to maintain and to improve some of the current ones that we have at this time and create more opportunities really to get students on the computers themselves and get some more workstations in every classroom. But again, it's the numbers I think that I'm proposing with desktops is a little bit lower probably than it was 3 years ago, because I don't see full replacement that's going to now last out. I think we just replace the ones we need to and then use some of that money for some of these pilot programs for what's happening in the future.
Michael?
My recommendation would be to actually increase to $60,000, because this is only covering the desktops for the next 3 years, $60,000 a year. The iPad pilot I could see growing considerably. It doesn't cover the wireless infrastructure, or does it, Patrick?
No.
So when do we plan on putting that in? Because Patrick was very generous in his comment that the wireless infrastructure is in good shape. I don't agree at all.
Yeah, I've heard what Michael talks about than it being in good shape, that it's kind of spotty and
It's
sketchy.
very spotty,
Yeah.
especially at some of the elementary schools
Right.
at this point.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, I'm not sure why we don't have a single smart board in here in the budget.
We don't.
We're depending on 1 or 2 or 3, maybe a year.
I think most of our smart
We
boards have been
donate.
paid for by parent-teacher
Right,
organizations.
but then,
Which is not a way to run a school system, of course.
It isn't,
but-
and, by the time we're done with smart boards, holographic computers are gonna be out.
Right, because of how slowly we.
We're adopting this, so why can't we add another $10,000 to the budget and include the wireless, the smart boards, and whatever it is?
I'd be willing to, not that we don't need to repair the sidewalk at the Hood School, but I'd be willing to see that 30,000 go into the 60,000 and put 90,000 toward technology. I know that that's an issue at the Hood School, but I'd support that, because I do think, and I'm not saying we're throwing good money after bad, but every year, we get 60,000 or 50, it goes up a little bit every once in a while, to replace computers, and I keep asking myself, I understand why we're replacing computers, but we're not moving forward, at least with budget that we're providing, and we're depending on parent organizations to come up with the money to provide a lot of the cool stuff that we kind of need today. So I'd support increasing that 60 by 50%.
And the other thing I would consider, Patrick, actually, starting this year, the technology in the PC themselves are pretty robust compared to what we bought 3 years ago. So we may want to consider maybe a 4-year turnaround after we buy this first year, so we extend the life. Because the iCore 7s and the 5s are pretty strong processors. And they should go pretty far with what we're using it in the classroom.
Another question I had was on Edline. I've heard through the grapevine some issues at the high school. I'm not exactly sure what they are. I'm wondering, have we had issues? Have we worked through them? And are we at the point where we're pretty comfortable now implementing at the middle school level? Have you heard any issues?
From what I understand, the issues were not really with the technology. It was more with just the rollout of the professional development and support. So we took, Mr. Bernard did a great job of getting parent feedback and passing that along to all of his staff, as well as sharing it with the middle school staff. So we've been very proactive at the middle school, trying to learn from some of those issues and avoid them. So there will be questions, but that's part of what the pilot will be this spring, is trying maybe 1 or 2 reports, getting feedback from parents about what they prefer, trying to communicate that the difference of, just seeing a quick snapshot and then using a key to find out more information. But the teachers are currently, they're all being trained. We've also made a lot of improvements to the site just to make it more welcoming, the site itself.
like I said, it's more than just a grade portal. It's an interactive website, so teachers are importing photos of their class or student work. Because one of the reservations we've had about this program is that it reduces the student effort and student experience into a number or a couple of numbers. So by really utilizing these websites and creating links to student work or to other teachers' websites, eventually we can have students upload portfolios. So it's really that whole picture of the student. So we have a great plan in place to get this at the middle school. I'm also going now back to the high school and saying, here are some of the things that we've now done at the middle school. What can we do here to take it to that next level? And the high school teachers are very excited. A lot of those teachers that are sort of the premier users are running small little workshops. Here's how you add footnotes. Here's how you add pictures. Here's how you organize a little better. So to avoid some of those issues of clarity that the parents expressed, these groups are already in progress to make that even better. So.
I think that's important,
Yeah.
because if you look at, when kids are applying to college now, it's almost always, even if you're applying to an art school, your whole portfolio, you submit online. You don't have to, submit a big book anymore with slides and everything. The last thought I'll leave you with is, this really addresses, I think, the whole area of learning better through or with technology. One of my concerns with the curriculum is teaching kids how to use and respect technology. So it's great that we're implementing the smart board so they can learn the core stuff better, but I think we have to be teaching them what plagiarism is over again, because kids go on the computer and they don't see that as stealing it from a book.
Right.
Hey, that's on the computer. I can write that, and there's my paper. Or how to use social media properly. And I think we have to start these things really early, not middle school, not high school, but first, second, third grade, start addressing these subjects. Because when these first graders are going to college or getting out of college, everything's going to be drastically changed from where it is today, and I think we have to really start preparing them. And so our kids who are teenagers didn't get that when they were young, so they're kind of learning and experimenting and seeing and making all the mistakes now. And what I'm hoping to do is help to avoid some of those mistakes if we can start that in the curriculum earlier on. So that
Absolutely. It's a major part of our technology plan. I alluded to it a little bit with the benchmarks, but the benchmarks really reflect an information literacy and online ethics and responsibility curriculum that we would need some teachers at that level who are able to do that. But that's key, and starting, like you said, very, very young age about safety, cyber safety, as well as cyber ethics and online behavior. What's appropriate ways to communicate online. So very, very important. I agree.
So I have a lot of thoughts about this, and a lot of them are probably not appropriate in this venue, but when we talk about technology and making investment in technology, I think as a committee we really need to think about what role technology plays in our schools and how we as a community would like technology to be part of that continuum. And I think I have the reaction that most people do to the suggestion of iPads for the school committee as being kind of excessive in times of want for so many other basic things, including teachers, which to me it might be an important commodity this year and every year for about 5 years or more. I'm not sure that making an investment in something that is a very new technology makes sense in light of current budget climate. Even if it is a capital item and it's dealt with differently than our regular budget. I think it says something about where our priorities are, and I think we need to carefully consider that as a committee. I myself will not consent to having an iPad unless I buy it myself, since I'm a public servant, and I think a lot of us feel, well, I don't want to speak for the rest of the committee, but I think that as a public servant, that's what we do. We help to make an investment in the community with service. I think there are some members of the town who've bought iPads with town money, and I think it speaks volumes for where their priorities are. But I also think that our students need to be introduced to technology in a way that is responsible and that provides them a tool to learn content. I don't think the technology itself is content, and I think there is a very big difference. So, I also noticed that most of the technology that we're using isn't half bad, but it shocks me that we don't use 2007 Word, that I just